Get out! That was the first thing Jessica Turner screamed, her voice slicing right through the quiet as I was dragging the very first box up onto my porch. Didn't even have my keys out yet. Didn't even get to soak in the feeling of finally coming home. That house was supposed to be my little slice of peace, you know? A place I bought fair and square, the old cedar cottage on Lake Maplewood, just like my grandma always wanted. Only Jessica, with her folder and her perfect hair and her stiletto heels, wasn't about to let anyone forget who ran Oak Ridge. Little did she know my house wasn't even under her precious HOA. But that never stopped a queen with a clipboard. She stormed up, shoving this leather folder in my face, rattling off about dues and fines and rules like she was quoting the Ten Commandments. I nearly laughed in her face when she said $270,000 due in 30 days. That's more than I paid for my first home. Seriously, Jessica? She didn't crack a smile, just kept waving that paperwork, tapping it like a judge with a gavel, insisting I pack my things and leave immediately. The neighbors, half of them peeking through their curtains, the other half frozen on their lawns, were all waiting to see if I'd fold. I'm Jake Rogers, by the way. 42 IT consultant and newly minted inheritor of my Grandma Rose's lakeside cottage. After years busting my tail in the city, dealing with managers who cared more about synergy than sense, I wanted roots, calm, a place where Tracy, my wife, and I could breathe, where our soon-to-be-born baby could grow up catching frogs and skipping rocks like I did. I figured if anyone deserved peace, it was Tracy. She'd spent years teaching high school English, wrangling teenagers, coming home exhausted, grading papers till midnight. She was already dealing with morning sickness and those aches that come with pregnancy, so I told her, let me handle the move. She resisted at first. Tracy's not one to sit still, but I put my foot down. I thought the hardest part would be carrying boxes, not surviving a one-woman HOA war. Moving day was picture perfect at first. Flag-lined porches, hydrangeas in bloom, all-American lawns, kids zipping past on bikes. Then there was Jessica, arms folded, lips pursed, watching me with a glare cold enough to freeze the lake. That's how I met her Oak Ridge's self-appointed dictator. I figured if I smiled, maybe she'd chill. Nope. She marched up, heels clacking, introduced herself, and barely concealed her distaste for my last name. She handed me that thick envelope initiation paperwork, she called it. When I questioned her, she just sniffed. We don't tolerate rule breakers, nonconformists, or undesirables. The way she said it, linger on the last word, eyes narrowing. I swear I could feel my blood start to boil. Before I could answer, I heard Tracy gasp from the porch. She was gripping the railing, pale, one hand on her belly, then doubled over, her face twisted in pain. I dropped everything, boxes crashing, something shattering inside, and ran to her. She whispered, "The baby," then just collapsed in my arms. "Jessica." She barely blinked. "She's faking it," she shrieked, already dialing her phone, probably the cops or her nephew or whoever she calls when she's got to flex. All I knew was I had to get Tracy to the ER right now. I carried her to the car, Jessica still yelling behind me. "You'll regret this, Jake Rogers," her words echoing across the lake as I sped off. That drive was a blur. My hands, shaking heart, thudding, praying Tracy and our baby would be okay. Doctors ran tests, kept us waiting, then finally said she was stable but needed strict bed rest. Sitting there by her hospital bed, I promised her I'd handle everything. "Don't let that woman push you around," Tracy whispered, squeezing my hand, eyes fierce. That's when I knew Jessica Turner had crossed a line, one she couldn't uncross. When I got home, my neighbor Mike was waiting, phone in hand, showing me a video of Jessica screaming while I carried Tracy out. "She does this to everyone," Mike told me, "but she's got enemies. You're not alone." That was the first crack in her armor. Next morning, Jessica came back, this time dragging her linebacker-sized nephew Derek, who looked more scared than scary. Jessica was in full dictator mode, accusing me of exploiting loopholes, practically admitting she knew my house might not be under her rule. I told her flat out I wasn't signing anything. She twitched. Derek wouldn't meet my eyes. Later that day, Derek showed up alone, all guilt and nerves, and muttered, "Be careful. She doesn't lose gracefully." That warning coming from her own right hand rattled me. By then, the neighborhood rumor mill was running wild. People at the cafe whispered about an emergency HOA meeting. Jessica was going to make an example of me. Mike pulled me aside, said, "Half the neighborhood's terrified, but now they're questioning if she's even legit." That night, neighbors gathered in the community center, Jessica at the podium, binder in hand, declaring my house belonged to Oak Ridge. She held up paperwork that said Maplewood Avenue, my house is on Maplewood Drive. I pointed it out in front of everyone. A few gasped, someone muttered, "That's not even this street." Jessica's face went pale, but she snapped back, accusing me of trying to scam everyone. She kept escalating fines, taped to my door violation notices for everything from hedge height to parking at the wrong angle. I almost admired her creativity, almost. Tracy, still recovering, could barely look out the window without seeing Jessica's smug face. I dug through Grandma Rose's old files, found the original deed, and a survey turns out my house ends exactly 6 inches before the HOA boundary. Rose knew what she was doing. Mike's eyes nearly popped out when I showed him. If the others saw this, they'd lose it. Maybe she's been bluffing the whole time. But Jessica didn't stop. She taped a $700 final notice to my door in red marker threatening legal action. When I confronted her, she just clipped her roses and said, "Order matters. I built this community and I'll burn it down before I let you take it." That wasn't about rules anymore, it was about control. Even Derek was showing cracks, slipping me a USB drive one night, whispering, "She's hiding things, money moving through accounts, fake companies." When I opened those files, my stomach dropped. Thousands siphoned off fake consulting fees, all with Jessica's signature. At the next HOA meeting, Jessica tried to live stream the whole thing, her last stand. She accused me of fraud, paraded her evidence. But I plugged in that USB, projected spreadsheets, and bank transfers her signature on everything. "That's your Maplewood holdings, Jessica," I said. Money meant for sidewalks spent on pearls and vacations. Mike was recording. Neighbors started shouting. Someone yelled about paying $10,000 for landscaping. Jessica's face crumbled. Derek stood up and said, "You betrayed the community. I won't cover for you anymore." Then the sheriff showed up, warrant in hand, fraud, embezzlement, misuse of HOA funds. Jessica screamed as they cuffed her pearls, swinging binder falling to the floor. "You'll regret this, Jake Rogers. You all will regret this." But the cruiser door slammed shut. Her voice faded away, and just like that, the air felt lighter. After Jessica's arrest, the neighborhood was a mess. Board members resigning, neighbors asking if I'd take over. I told them I wasn't a hero, just a guy who stood up. But it hit me. Maybe standing up is enough to inspire others. Tracy came home from the hospital, sat on the porch, and joked, "Looks like the queen lost her crown." For the first time, I felt like we belonged. But the story didn't end there. When I dug deeper into that USB, I found contracts and transfers tied to Maplewood Holdings, outside names bigger than Jessica, bigger than Oak Ridge. A plain white envelope appeared in my mailbox. "Maplewood Holdings isn't finished with you." That chill crawled up my spine. Derek confessed Jessica used to talk about contacts, men in suits, expensive cars. The message was clear, she was just a pawn. That night, a black SUV idled outside my house, headlights slicing the dark. Mike stood in his yard, phone raised, filming for everyone to see. The SUV crept away, but I knew they'd be back. Tracy's words anchored me. "We fight smart. If we stand together, they lose their power." Maybe this wasn't just about my house anymore. Maybe it was about neighborhoods like ours everywhere. So tell me, what would you have done? Have you ever faced down a bully who thought they owned the whole street? Because in the end, justice isn't a solo act. It's what happens when enough good people stop being afraid. Drop your stories in the comments. Who's the biggest bully you ever faced? Where do you draw the line between order and control? And if this story made you want to cheer, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to know that sometimes the good guys do win, at least for a little while.